The fact that it took this long seemingly puts Dortmund in a bit of a hole, because what do you do now? Do you bring in a caretaker for the last 6 months? Do you go out and find somebody who's sitting there waiting, who doesn't have a job at the moment, who maybe could be the right choice? There's some rumors out there, Roger Schmidt, there's some other names, but for the most part, you're going to pick somebody who doesn't have a job right now, potentially to be a caretaker. And if that doesn't go well, you got to do this again in the summer?
Whew. You go, Jalil. Last year's finalists, Dortmund, the slump continues, now winless in their last 4 across all competitions. And this is what head coach NURI ŞAHIN had to say after the game. He said, "This is not about me. If I am the problem," turns out you were, "if a coach change would solve all problems, so be it. We have to deliver. And the fact is, we have now lost 4 matches in a row." And Dortmund announcing this morning that they have parted ways with the manager who has been there for a year and a half. They fall to a Bologna side, guys, that had 2 points through 6 games. Oof.
Damn.
That's the type of result, unfortunately, that will see a head coach sacked. Because when a team is down and out, done and dusted, as Bologna has been in Champions League, you have to get that result. It doesn't matter if it's home, away. It doesn't matter, and the woes for Dortmund continue, and the head coach is subsequently let go.
Which brings us to our Zillow new home search. The question here has to be, this isn't a huge surprise, the result is, but Dortmund hasn't been looking like the Dortmund that we know for quite some time. So are you surprised, or how surprised are you that it wasn't sooner?
I mean, they haven't won a game in 2025.
Correct.
They've been terrible. They've been so subpar. You know, you go from Terzic, who I also didn't love. I never really understood what their system was. I never really had confidence going into any game that Dortmund would win. They went on an improbable run. They got to the Champions League final. I was there. I got to see it live. They were obviously subpar to Real Madrid. Real Madrid goes on to win. You make the switch to NURI ŞAHIN, who sat as an assistant. You brought him in as an assistant, essentially to take on that head coach role as soon as Terzic would be sacked, and everyone knew it was coming. You assume you do that because you trust and believe this guy has something. Maybe he's like a Hertzler. He has a system that you think is future-proof and is going to be advanced and is going to move the needle forward for Dortmund. We saw none of that for this entire season. We saw a team that was up and down. We saw a team that couldn't find any consistency. And we saw a team that didn't even look as good as it looked under Terzic, who they already wanted gone last year. So this was not progress in any way, shape, or form. The fact that it took this long seemingly puts Dortmund in a bit of a hole, because what do you do now? Do you bring in a caretaker for the last 6 months? Do you go out and find somebody who's sitting there waiting, who doesn't have a job at the moment, who maybe could be the right choice? There's some rumors out there, Roger Schmidt, there's some other names, but for the most part, you're going to pick somebody who doesn't have a job right now, potentially to be a caretaker. And if that doesn't go well, you got to do this again in the summer?
I think that's the route that you probably should go if you're Dortmund, caretaker, and then get to the summer where you have more options. There's always, more options on the carousel. It doesn't matter in whatever league you're talking about, world football, summer's typically when you have more options to bring people in. So I would imagine that's where Dortmund goes, but I agree with you, Alexis. It's been dismal for a while here, and it's not surprising of the timing, really, but, Erik ten Hag emerging as one of the leading names here, but is he going to get back into coaching or just continue counting the stacks?
Get your bag.
Are you kidding me? He's buying himself a mink coat right now. He got $20 million coming to him. This man is not going to be on no pitch side.
Darian, I'm trying to get a paid vacation like that.
Oh, me too.
20 million?
Yeah, I'm not coaching.
Come on. You ain't going to find me waking up with no alarm.
No ambitions?
No, me?
If you had $20 million, just all your ambitions would go.
Yeah, no, I have one ambition: spend $20 million.
Erik ten Hag, of course, getting that severance from Manchester United. Here's a look at the other 2 potential candidates that Ian Joy brought up last night on Scoreline: Sebastian Hoeneß and Roger Schmidt. What do you think the best path forward is? So let's say they wait until the summer. What's the best path forward? Who?
I mean, for me, look, Dortmund is in a position where they're not one of the biggest cities in the world. They're not one of the biggest cities in Germany. They are the shining star of the city of Dortmund, right? What are they going to do, sponsor themselves? This is a club that needs to get into Champions League. This is a club that needs that money. Look, it's not going to fall apart for them. They're certainly not going to get relegated. They're not going to go into administration. But if they want to continue to compete with those big boys, if they want to continue to be able to bring in young players and develop them and pay for that academy, you need success with with this first team. So you can't sit back and just hope that the next pick gets it right. You need to do what simply Liverpool did.
And how much of this is really a managerial problem? 8 manager stints in 10 years now for Dortmund.
How do you replace Klopp? Well, Liverpool did it. Never mind. Guess that was easy for them. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look at the list of names. I mean, Thomas Tuchel, if that would have been able to work out, seems like someone who would have been able to do really, really good in a much longer term than certainly he had. But, obviously other opportunities came for him. For me, you need to bring in someone that's young, but that has a vision and has managed before.
And I think they thought they had that in Şahin, in being a Dortmund legend and being 36 years old. I think that they thought they had that and groomed him for that. But apparently it didn't all work out.
No, certainly didn't.